simply amazing. Again, I am your host, Alex Jones. Infowars.com is the besieged, hated site by tyrants globally. Prince Philip, I saw this in the Daily Mail last night, or yesterday afternoon, reportedly had some type of fit. And there was a big emergency at the palace. And then they announced this morning that he will be retiring from public life now in the next few months, which means if he gets better, they'll roll him out and say bye-bye, and then that's it. He's definitely flown over the cuckoo's nest. I'm sure I will by the time I'm 95 years old. But if you know about him, he was the Prince of Cyprus, a Greek prince, but not of Greek bloodline. He is a Transylvanian, Romanian, German heir to the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, even more royal than Queen Elizabeth II, but she was the British bloodline that was German itself. House of Windsor, fake name, they're Saxe-Coburg-Gothas. The top hat-wearing Nazi, and he was a Nazi. So was his cousin, Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands. Of course, the King of England before him, Edward VIII, you can Google Edward VIII meets with Hitler, was a Nazi. And the Nazis had planned to set up the European Union. That was a plan that Hitler announced in 1939. He also announced it in 1938 as well, but officially announced it in 39 at the World Olympics. So this goes on and on and on. Hitler invented himself the Olympic symbol of the rings. He invented the Volkswagen. He drew it. He designed it, the engine, everything. He also designed a lot of the looks and sleek designs on Wolfpack submarines. Hitler was a bad guy, but he did win the German Congressional Medal of Honor, Iron Cross First Class and Iron Cross Second Class. They had like 10 different classes of those. And that's why he was admired by the German military, because he was like an Audie Murphy of World War I. Just interesting things people should know. But again, just search engine, Edward VIII, King of England, with Adolf Hitler. There are hundreds of photos, and there's the Queen of England, came out a few years ago as a young girl, hailing Hitler. But there is the King of England with his American wife, and they later claimed he advocated because he had an American wife. No, that's not why. It's a fact. There was a treaty with Germany signed in 1939 by Neville Chamberlain, a secret treaty to double down with the United States in an attack on Russia. And that's when he broke his deal, well, I guess in 41, and launched Operation Barbarossa against the Russians. But the United States by then broke the secret treaty, and so did the British, broke the secret treaty. The Vice-Fuhrer, then Rudolf Hess, parachuted in. He was a fighter ace from World War I, parachuted in from his fighter bomber over one of the main palaces with the treaty. He was then locked up for life in the Tower of London, right by London Bridge. That's how that works. So that's how deep all this goes. People ask, why would the British be on the Nazi side? Because right up until the end, they had deals to do it until they basically announced a secret arrest warrant. This is in mainline history books for the King of England, because he had run off to Germany when World War II started, and then he had to sneak back through into Spain, then was brought back to England, but had to abdicate. So, I mean, isn't that amazing, amazing history? And it's all completely on record, but you don't see it on Discovery Channel. You don't see it on History Channel. This morning when I got up at 6 a.m. and turned on Fox News and started punching up Infowars.com and DrudgeReport.com, as I do to monitor fake conservative news on Fox, and then look at real news and analysis from Drudge and Infowars, you would think that an American icon, George Washington, was retiring. The Duke of Edinburgh, and they rolled out all these Brits. I love Brits, but just Brits on U.S. TV lecturing us how great the Queen is and how great the her consort, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Charles's father, how great he is. This is a guy who on live TV goes, "Oh my goodness, we have blacks in here. I'm surprised they know how to screw in light bulbs." And of course, he was best friends with Jimmy Savile, the famous Satanist and pedophile who liked to slit little girls' throats with the Prime Minister. I reported that 10 years ago. Now it's mainstream news. There he is in the Scottish Guard regalia. He couldn't stand the Queen of England. That's in mainline history books. because she was a nymphomaniac, demanding sex up to 20 times a day. And he called her a cow and other names. He liked the really racy, sexy supermodels. But good friends with the pedophile, confirmed pedophile, Jimmy Savile, who had the highest level national security, royal security clearance up until the time he died, to all of the royal palaces, even above MI5 and MI6 and the Royal Guard. Can't make that stuff up, but let's punch him up in the Scottish Guard regalia. He looks like what Emperor Palpatine wishes he looked like. Pure, seething, unabated, absolute vampiric evil. And the admitted blood transfusions that they get from children, that's admitted. The Queen of England, the Queen Mother, lived up to 100 and something with the blood transfusions. But the old brain finally ain't working on that guy. You think that snapper, you think that little demon's seen a few things? 95 years old. You want to know who the enemy is? That's it right there. You want to know who's at the bottom of the rat hole? People like this. And Lord Rothschild. Remember talking about the Rothschilds being at the top of the pyramid? They go, oh, you're anti-Semitic. What, Jews can't be at the top of the pyramid? Germans can't be? Transylvanians? It's a fact. The Rothschilds aren't even Jewish. For 200 years, they've been marrying into this French Merovingian / Transylvanian / Germanic bloodline. And if you look at the Rothschilds, they look like this guy. Yeah, they might be some, I think the current Rothschilds in England, the lords over there, I think are like 12.5% Jewish. Last time I read a mainstream news article about it. What they are is New World Order demons. So you just think about that, and you look at that for a long time, ladies and gentlemen, and you think about being locked up in some dungeon when one of these boys comes toddling in. Yeah, he just died at 100 and whatever it was. First Rockefeller to go past 100. All of them, back to John D. the First, had huge bets they could make it past 100. None of them did it, but David. Old David. And old David in the 30s was in Germany for years in Army Intelligence, a secret commission that I've been told about by high-level sources, and working for the, what was it, AP, the nice front for those boys, taking famous photos of the Duke of Edinburgh meeting with Hitler and photos of Hitler early on before he even launched wars, 36, 37, 38. Old David was representing the family in Deutschland, making big profits, and Rockefeller-owned factories were not allowed to be bombed by my grandfathers, both in the Army Air Corps, in World War II. By the way, everything I'm saying, you can just search engine and find even mainstream news. Ford, Chevrolet, Opel factories, tank factories owned by the Rockefellers were not allowed to be bombed. IBM computer factories were not allowed to be bombed. Yep. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the Duke of Edinburgh marching with Adolf Alois Hitler and the German High Command. Isn't that just precious? Isn't that just delightful? Isn't that just cutie cake time? But see, in this modern world, if your grandfathers fought the Nazis and the mainline Nazi groups hate you more than anybody and David Duke says you're the enemy and all the rest of it, then you get called a David Duke lover. You get called a David Duke lover in court and lose your children. That's how America works, ladies and gentlemen. Because being informed is a crime. Being real is a crime. Reading hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and I've read over 300, 400, 500 books just on World War II and World War I. Over 20, 30 on the Civil War. I'm not bragging. I just got into it. More than 100 on British naval warfare history because they were the ones that actually wrote down their history, so they have the best histories. All intriguing stuff. Each page a new battle. The Battle of the Nile. Lord Nelson, all of it amazing. But then you look on with horror when you see a Prince Philip and, oh, the Queen, she likes a good pea soup. Oh, good old Prince Philip. I've got a stack of quotes out of the London Guardian here of Prince Philip saying black people aren't humans, all the rest of it. On death, he says, in the event that I'm reincarnated, I would like to return as a deadly virus to contribute something to solving overpopulation. 1988. And, of course, who runs the modern eugenics operation? The same people we're talking about. So I've just spent 12 minutes on this. I'm going to stop.